Okay, let's get this thing started. So today, again, as you know, we have a green workforce panel with four amazing professionals that will be giving us some tips, some tricks of how to get into the industry and things that you can do to advance your career. Before we get started, the live translation will be available on our Wordly. You're welcome to have your camera off or on. We ask that you use the mute function as well and right-click on your name and add your preferred language. All right, so you all can see our Wordly video here. Again, our team member Mira will translate in the instructions in the following video.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Mira et je vais expliquer comment accéder à l'interprétation pour le webinaire. Premièrement, cliquez sur le lien dans le clavardage pour ouvrir le navigateur Wordly. Puis, sélectionnez la langue de votre choix dans le coin supérieur droit. Et cliquez sur le bouton audio pour entendre l'interprétation en direct. Finalement, vous devez rendre le son de Zoom web. Alors, sélectionnez la flèche à côté de Mute dans le coin inférieur gauche et cliquez sur Leave Computer Audio. Et je veux aussi signaler que si vous voulez poser une question, vous devrez l'écrire dans le clavardage ou rejoindre l'audio de l'ordinateur sur Zoom. Merci.
All right, we have a fabulous team that I'm honored to work with. Even though I've been here almost a couple months, every single person on this team is amazing. We're led by our CEO and president, Kathy Abuso, our vice president of communications and government relations, Christine LeDuc, vice president of urban and community forestry, Paul Johnson, my supervisor, who's Jerry Taylor, the senior director of diversity and career pathways. Again, if you're just coming on, my name is Nick Weeks. I'm the manager of career readiness. Our senior manager of communications is Mira Williamson, who you just heard on the last slide. Our senior coordinator of green jobs is Madri Johnny, and our administrative assistant is Jennifer Ferrant. Here at PLT and SFI, we respectfully acknowledge that we work and grow within the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Nation. PLT Canada is a program of the Sustainable Forestry Initiative. SFI believes in a society that values and benefits from sustainably managed forests in the great outdoors. We are committed to using trees and forests as windows on the world to inspire action and grow future and conservation leaders. Our environmental education and professional development services include high-value work experiences and an industry-leading mentorship program in rural, indigenous, and urban communities. Since 2018, we've placed over 7,000 youth into green jobs across 12 provinces and territories by supporting over 400 employers. Since 2020, we have also supported over 600 participants through mentorship in the United States, Canada, as well as globally. This program has been essential for building key skills in both mentees and mentors like confidence, networking, communication, coaching, and empathy. And here's one of our mentees from a prior year. Today, again, we have an amazing panel of experts in their field. I know I'll be learning, taking some notes. I hope you will be too. If you have a question, we ask that you drop that in the chat and we'll try to get to you as soon as possible. And then we'll take some Q&A from our audience, and then we'll have final remarks. Before we do that, did you know that Canada has 9% of the world's forest? Canada forests play a pivotal role in mitigating climate change by absorbing carbon, producing sustainable wood products, and conserving biodiversity. Science-based evidence helps us understand trends and helps us manage our forests better. We have a ton of opportunities within this sector, such as logging, wood product manufacturing, pulp and paper manufacturing, forest management, reforestation, biodiversity protection and conservation, indigenous relations, and bioproducts. And now we have some really great presenters, as I said before. Each of these individuals, again, are experts in their field. We'll start with Lindsay Dandridge first from the urban forestry. She's an urban forestry technician from the city of Calgary. Then we'll move to Frederick Fagault. He's a forestry technician. Then we'll move to Ben Patton, founder and president of Tree Cycle Canada, and then following Jeanette Merrick, a horticulture instructor from Okanagan College. So without further ado, Lindsay Dandridge.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Lindsay Dandridge. Yeah, I'm an urban forestry technician with the city of Calgary. I've been here for about 2 years. And how I got here. So I'm from Mississauga, just outside of Toronto. But my first green job was planting trees in Northern Ontario, which I think is a rite of passage for a lot of Canadians. Hopefully some other panelists have done it. I did that for 7 years, and like throughout it, a lot of people thought, oh, good for you, you're planting trees, like, oh, you're saving the planet, not really realizing that we're just planting like future toilet paper. But yeah, so I did that for 7 years before I moved back to Toronto, and I loved trees. I didn't know how to work with trees, and everyone's like, oh, you love trees, you should be an arborist. And that actually really hurt my feelings because I didn't want to cut trees down. I love trees, I want to protect them. So then I segued into urban forestry through contacts from my tree planting life. I got a job watering trees in parks and streets in Toronto, which to this day is my favorite job. So I did that for 2 years, and then I worked for the city of Toronto before like really learning the kind of inner dynamics of working for a city and realizing I needed better education in urban forestry specifically to get a better job. Because my undergrad was in kinesiology, which is a whole other story. So I got my master's from the University of Toronto.
Awesome.
And after that, for my summer co-op, I worked as an afforestation consultant. And then after I graduated, I got a job as a silviculture technician in northern Saskatchewan. There are lots of trees in Saskatchewan. If you've never been north of Highway 1, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful province. And they were all contract positions, so I didn't quit any of these jobs. I fulfilled all my contracts and just moved on when I felt it was right. And throughout all of these experiences, I've tried to hold a steady volunteer presence, which I can talk about a little bit again later. So a day in the life of my current job, pardon me, I respond to a lot of service requests from the public. So either going and meeting them at their home or making phone calls, sending emails, answering a lot of questions, mostly telling people that we will not be removing their tree due to a minor nuisance, like dripping sap or dropping leaves into a guy's convertible or like any other kind of minor nuisance. Trees play a much greater good than they do a nuisance. So just explaining that on a daily basis. So diplomacy and active listening are important skills in that regard, especially talking to someone who's angry or super disgruntled. A major thing I do is development review. So looking at architectural drawings and landscape plans, particularly for infill developments, trying to discern the impacts to trees, like if the trees will be damaged, if they need to be pruned prior, if they need to be removed, can we protect them, how do we protect them, and making sure the development is aware of how to best protect them. And then also monitoring and making sure that they are actively protecting them. So we also update inventory, which means measuring the trees and assessing their condition rating, because those impact their monetary value. So if a tree is being removed, we get compensation for it, and that sort of thing. Yeah, so that involves a lot of tree inspections. Basically, all of them involve tree inspections, especially for risk. So sometimes we also get called out for a more formal tree risk assessment. So I have my tree risk assessment qualification through the International Society of Arboriculture. And then all of that is documented. So there's a lot of clerical work and a lot of just like writing notes, keeping track of things in Excel spreadsheets, and being really on top of your work organizationally. And this photo here was just a routine yearly inspection of the bracing and cabling in this birch tree, because there's a large frost crack down the trunk that the homeowners were quite spooked about.
How old do you think this tree was when you took it?
I think it's about 80 years. They're usually about the same age as the development.
Gotcha. That's amazing. Okay.
That's a huge treat for Calgary.
Got it.
But,
Okay. That's awesome. So do you have any tips? I think you have a few tips here for
yeah.
job seekers.
Um, yeah, so some soft skills tips are just like be really friendly, be on time, and be confident. This is something that I struggle with still. I have a very self-deprecating sense of humor, but it doesn't play well in job interviews or like when you're learning a job. So like be confident. Even if you don't feel confident, project confidence. And then technical skills, I would say gather certifications where you can. It shows seriousness and commitment to the sector, and that you're investing in yourself and your skill set. Because a lot of certifications can be expensive, but they're always worth it. Experience with GIS and field maps, kind of throughout my experience in urban forestry and commercial forestry, always field maps and GIS. So it's very handy having experience in those. Having first aid and a driver's license are also very crucial in a lot of roles in forestry and urban forestry. And familiarity with Excel. Excel is an incredibly powerful tool. So if you have experience, like if you can just like pop out a pie chart, it'll blow a lot of people's minds. So get better at Excel. And then skills to get employed. I think if you're starting out in the sector, honestly, getting a manual labor job or like a data input job, like doing the grunt work, I think it expresses that you're willing to do the hard work, you're willing to do tedious work. It shows reliability, it shows that you're hardworking, and it shows that you're committed to the sector. You're not just shopping around for the best job. And you will actually learn a lot. You will make a lot of connections. And I think it's really helpful for the higher up jobs to understand, the inventory input that's required for like where you even end up, Yeah, and then volunteering, I think, is especially rewarding if you're working in a solitary role. Like when I was a silviculture forester, I was the only one. I'm pretty independent now. So volunteering gets you kind of outside of your niche. It connects you with other people, especially if you're in a new city. Yeah, just people have a lot to learn from you. You have a lot to learn from other people. And I think just volunteering can be really, really helpful for networking and personal growth.
Absolutely. If you had to leave us with some words of encouragement, for folks that are trying to get into your career path, what would those words of encouragement be?
The right thing will come along. Like sometimes, I think it took me 8 different job applications and interviews to get this job. It can be really time consuming and like emotionally grueling, but just like stick it out. The right thing will come along. Um,
Thank you
yeah,
so much. That was powerful. I definitely agree with volunteering. So if anyone has any questions for Lindsay, you definitely can leave it in the chat and we'll of course get to it possibly at the end of our presentation. Thank you, Lindsay. That was very informative.
thanks.
All right, awesome. So our next speaker and presenter will be Frederick Forgault. He's a forestry technician and forest management advisor. Without further ado, Frederick.
It's working all right?
Yes, we hear
Good.
you. Welcome.
All right.
Awesome.
So, as it's right there, my name is Frederick, and I'm a forest technician and also a forest management advisor. So, those are kind of 2 jobs that goes in one because I work in a forestry group. If you guys don't know what it is, it's like the private companies owned by landowners, and it's for landowners to manage your lot. So that's because that's why it's like a 2-in-1 job. So I'll go into much detail later on. I'm just going to explain right now my career pathways. So I'm from perfect. I'm from Carrick, New Brunswick. I speak French usually. I don't know if you could tell. And I my first introduction to environment conservation and forestry was just going outdoor. So just hunting, just with family, doing 4-wheelers, uh, running for the maple sugar, things like that. So it was always like a passion, but I didn't know it could be a career. So I went to university. I I studied in other programs, not connected in any ways to forestry, but it's all connected at the end with in the long run, when you see the big picture, it's all pretty much connected. But at that time, I didn't see it. So my first job in the green sector was a wildland firefighter. It was in 2022, and it was during the spring and the summer. It was like between 2 years when I was in college studying forestry. So I've learned a lot from that. Uh, I've seen really nice, really green forests, some burned, but it's natural. It's the way it is. And also, I had the chance to be a soil sampling technician. So for a little while during the summer. After that, I graduated from college. I moved to Quebec, and now I'm working at this forestry group from then until now. So you can switch to the next slide, please. Yeah, so within the life of a forestry technician on private land, we do forest management plan for the landowners. We evaluate the land, sorry. We take all the data that is needed to evaluate the land. We communicate a lot with the landowner. If he wants us to cut some wood, just do some trails, maybe for hunting, to have a better hunting ground for him. It's all about what the client wants. So we just manage a lot with the objective of the owner. We take everything, and also with that, it's all like case by case. So if there's a lot of that dead trees or things like that, we need to educate him and make him learn that they're not forever and things like that. Maybe sometime public doesn't know that some trees have an age expectancy. So we need them to learn that, oh, this moss is doing something. Those kind of plants are there, and they're gonna outgrow the regeneration, and just things here and there to make them learn some more about things and be more careful and be just manage the land on their own a little better. So we do forest management plan. We do operational planification, like when machinery comes, needs permit. We need to flag all around the lot where it's going to be cut. We need to arrange some logistical things like transportation of the wood. Also, yeah, and the last point, communication with landowners. Yes, that's all throughout the process. Um, during before, during, and after, if there's some things to be done on their land. So that's pretty much it. We communicate a lot with them and guide them through the process of harvesting some woods in their forest, maybe.
Got it. Now I have a question for you, Frederick.
Yeah.
You said that when you first started, I guess, into forestry or environmental sciences, you didn't see the end, or you were saying that you didn't really see how it all connected. Did you network? How did it all come into play, to get where you are now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I would say it's probably the most important thing was because I studied in political science. So the government and the governance aspects of things, then I saw, okay, there's things interconnected, there's different actors, then okay, it's a big machine that just keeps the world running. So that's pretty much a big cause of why I know these things, and I know how to get the bigger picture and be more like a bird's eye view of things.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much why I would say things are interconnected, and then just day to day when I'm asking for a permit, I need to go and talk to some people like at the town hall or something to get the permit, and there's connection there, and all the other companies for transportation. It's all when you think about it, it comes really complicated. But if you don't go like that all day long, it's pretty much easy to.
Gotcha. All right, well, give us some great tips. I see you have some tips here for job seekers.
Yeah, I would say communication is a big thing. Some people would say like for forestry, some forestry technician, you're in the wood, you're collecting data. You're just in the outdoor collecting data on your own with your GPS. It's sometimes it happens, but in the private sector, you need to talk a lot to landowners and communicate with your team, with the upper management of your company, and you can be on your own from time to time, but you need to communicate and just interact with more experienced people with you around, and it's always better to just ask around and learn from experience too. So solving is a big thing. So when you're on your own, you don't have all your notes and everything that you learned during school. So it's not in there. It's supposed to be in there. So you just have to be use some critical thinking and take your notes. And if there's something, just take more notes. Come back after when you're at the office and ask
Mm,
around and look into your stuff. Attention to detail. The more you have knowledge about the forest and your environment and everything's interconnected, you'll see it with your eyes. So you could see just a little thing that changed the whole thing when you're just analyzing stuff in the woods. So just a little mushroom could just, okay, it's there, it's not supposed to be there, or it's invasive species, could be like a thing or two to just look out, know and learn. Technical skill. You need to be in shape, that's for sure. Long days, any kinds of weather, and also skills to get employed. Yeah, like I said, good physical condition, love for the outdoor, any weather, any season, um, and also a desire to learn. I would just emphasize a little more about it because I think it's always a learning curve to just grow into your job and into your field. So if you're eager to learn, you're gonna get far. Also know your value, and just want to also recap like I could tell like Lindsay said about doing the manual labor too.
mm,
Doing manual labor like a summer job, volunteer work, or just starting a job as just to get there and climb the ladder afterwards, because if you're going to climb the ladder, you're going to be in charge of some people, and if you can't understand the reality, you're going to be disconnected from them, and that could be a management issue. So if you start from down the ladder, it's good, it's hardworking, it's going to be rewarding at the end to learn and understand, and after that manage after all. So I would recommend to just do those things. uh, that's pretty much it for me.
gotcha. So thank you, Frederick. I know I had one more question for you. We have about 30 seconds. And again, if you have a question for Frederick before Ben Patton comes on next, please drop it in the chat. So what encouragement would you leave for those? I know that you went into the industry in a different capacity and now are at a position of leadership. So what encouragement would you give to those that are also seeking to do the same?
Um, like I said, I would say know your value
Mm,
and just express it. Express what you want. Express if you're in a good team, if you're getting into a new job and the management's good and the feel you're right and things are going your way, just demonstrate what are your skills, what are you best at, so you can improve and maybe just go into that direction, and also improve on things that you're not good with it. So you can
mm.
be like a jack of all trades. So I would say learn, and let's go and push and hustle.
I got you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Frederick. Again, if you have a question, feel free to leave it in the chat. I think it's really helpful to get some really good insight and information behind how people got into the industry. A lot of times we don't talk about that, but I think that's so invaluable. So thanks so much. Our next speaker is an expert in his field, Ben McGee Patton. He's the founder and CEO of Tree Cycle. So Ben McGee Patton, if you come on, we can definitely get you going here. Ben, are you on the call? Okay, I think he's having some technical difficulties here. So Jeanette Merrick. Jeanette Merrick is our next speaker. Jeanette, let me know if you're on the call. And we'll share your slides here. So I took a lot of notes from some of our speakers while she's getting ready. I took a lot of notes because I think it's just an amazing and invaluable lessons and tips that you get, especially with the networking, the volunteer. And for those that have not yet done so, there's a quick few words I have at the end of our presentation so that you can get into an amazing conference that'll be in June to network with some of the industry professionals that you see here. So I think that's also powerful. So once again, I'm just calling for Ben just to make sure I didn't miss him. I think he's not on at the moment. So we're going to move on to Jeanette Merrick. So excuse the slides here. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I appreciate it. All right, Jeanette Merrick is a ISA trained arborist, a climber, a faller, a tree risk assessor, a plant health specialist, and tree advocate. For the Connegan College, she also serves as a horticulture instructor. Outside of that, she is a part of the Kelowna Tree Protectors and Landscape Care Guild as an active member. So without further ado, Jeanette Merrick.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hi, Jeanette.
Speaking of technical difficulties, I'm super grateful we have support from IT at the college today because I'm not sure I'd be able to actually accomplish this. This is one of those things we're doing. We're volunteering to practice some of those skills that we've already talked about, right? So I talk about this in the class quite often, is the idea of volunteering to practice in areas that you're uncomfortable, because you can start to build some of those boundaries and safe learning spaces. Absolutely. And being able to ask questions instead of being paid to try to accomplish things. So first, let me introduce myself. Hello. Connecting from Kelowna, British Columbia in the Okanagan Valley, from our humble horticulture program here. I brought along my friends because we're getting down to where we're closing off our program. So we've been together for a couple of months now, and we do have a self-propelled alumni kind of gathering process that we do. And our hopes is that we can actually start to build a community within our valley, because our environment is so different from a lot of other environments that the research is always having to be kind of adapted so that it fits for us. So from my list of things that I've accomplished in my life, a lot of that was accomplished through volunteering. A lot of my training that I received was actually me taking the training over and over again by being like the assistant to the instructors and just being on site and helping carry gear and helping bring extra materials, sharpening the chainsaws, bringing the extra oils, taking care of the people, and just really following my curiosity. And I think that's what I would like to share today, is the idea that we are asking for these green jobs to adapt in ways that are non-tradition. And there's not really a manual that we can give to anyone to be able to give them an idea of where they might be going. So the confidence, which I'm getting, I'm like super nervous.
No need to be nervous. Look, it's my second time, and I'm just grateful, for you to speak. So,
and confidence comes with practice, and it comes with failing in safe places. And I think that's where volunteering really provides a space for us, is that we can actually offer what we have to offer, but within boundaries of where we're comfortable. And we generally still get asked to do more. So that invitation to challenge and that invitation for resistance, where we get those things. So I have a consulting business, which, as Lindsay has talked about, there's a ton of different things that we can do with trees. And I've managed the same thing where I've gone through and said, I would like to be an arborist, but I don't really want to take down the trees. I would like to understand how and be able to prepare for that, but it's not my focus. But being a consultant also isn't supported by the industry. So I try a diverse hat wearing in different ways, which has allowed me to talk to a lot of people about trees. So I got to a point in my career where I really wanted to be able to be independent. And I really wanted to have the money that I brought in be written to trees. So I wrote the word trees and then came up with an acronym. So my company is Tree Related Expertise and Education Solutions. And the idea of putting expertise in my business name reminds me to be humble, because I don't think that I will ever be able to understand the entire community, but it keeps me looking for those information, those opportunities. Through those conversations, I co-founded Kelowna Tree Protectors. So in all of our urban spaces, we're finding a conflict on kind of what we need for services in our urban spaces, as well as what the spaces that we need for the trees themselves. And we're playing with that idea. Do we become a group of nonprofit organization, or do we stay as citizens who just want to facilitate workshops and have that freedom to really kind of find what it is that the community wants and needs, and then facilitating those things? So putting together workshops, we have a project where we actually have a tree identification project, and it's small, but each year we've added 25 trees. So now we're into our 5th year. We're getting up over 100 trees that have a sign that people recognize, and we're opening up the conversations to be had about trees. And then there's the industry itself. So as the horticulture instructor, I can actually hopefully facilitate what that looks like for each of the students that joins the program, and hopefully also help the program to evolve as we're asking the industry to change. So I could go on and on about the value of volunteering, but I think it's the ability to try things in a way that you're not required to accomplish certain goals. You can really just show up as you are, experience that, learn through that, and hopefully build a network.
Gotcha. So one of my questions, Jeanette, and thank you for that in-depth outlook about what you all are doing. How did you get into this work? I mean, what created this love and passion for trees, and maybe what was your first opportunity, if you will, in this space?
Thank you for the invitation to answer. To be honest, I was challenged very young age, and humans weren't really my safe place. Trees were. And so for me, being able to work with plants is a place where I actually life makes more sense to me. So when I was given some challenges for trying to find what I might want to do with the life that I had, I was given a short period of time to live. And so how would I use that time? And thankfully, those predictions didn't come true. So I just keep thinking, okay, one more year, I'm allowed to do something. So one more year, I can do something else. And I recognize that. And if you're, and a lot of people have that natural want to clean up behind themselves. So if I'm not able to do my job, what can I do to prepare for the next person who might sit in that job so that they can carry it forward in a vision that makes sense for them? So you don't have an attachment to how it's going to proceed, which allows you a lot of freedom to just really encourage people, which to me, if you're asking me, trees teach us community, and we can learn a lot from how they naturally exist.
Excellent. And we have a question from the audience, from Raquel Bede, and excuse me if I mispronounced the name. It says, a question for all presenters: considering the amount of skills, experience, education, and training needed to fulfill your roles, as well as the degree of the day-to-day mental and physical demands, do you feel you are fairly compensated financially? So Jeanette, are you there? Oh, okay. Okay, well, I guess it could be for any presenter.
Sorry, I forgot.
No worries.
Like the technology, yay, learning things.
No worries, no worries, that happens.
Wow, okay, cool, great question. I guess because I've been given these opportunities in life, I've managed to live life really, really simply. I don't need to collect a lot of things because I don't have a lot of needs. So in that capacity, I try really hard to budget how I use the resources that I use. So if the priority is helping others reach goals that they are inspired to do, then I find ways to navigate that isn't necessarily representative of money. So an example would be on Friday afternoon, we have some urban spaces here that are private owned. And so how do I help private owners with the care of their trees? Some of the biggest, oldest, beautiful trees in our urban space that actually have enough soil to continue to be that age for an extended period of time are being threatened by some legislation that's coming forward. So for that process, instead of making demands, I'm trying to invite people to make choices and feel like they have the opportunity to ask questions. And the only way to do that is to let them know that their options exist.
Yeah.
I guess my income and my response is less about the monetary and more about the community. And so I just make it fit for me in a way that I can still have my basics, which is food, water, shelter, and every day grateful for the trees and air.
Absolutely. That's a really great response. And I think Lindsay, not to cut you off, Jeanette, I do want you to share a few words of encouragement, but I think Lindsay wanted to share as well. Again, the question was, I'll read it really quickly. Let's see here in our chat. A question for all presenters: considering the amount of skills, education, and experience and training needed to fulfill your roles, as well as the degree of the day-to-day mental and physical demands, do you feel you are fairly compensated financially? And I think I saw Lindsay jump on for a second. So Lindsay, not sure if you want to take a stab at that.
Sure, yeah. And I think it's really interesting to go after Jeanette because working for a municipality is the flip opposite of what she was talking about. Municipalities are generally very well compensated, but at the cost of like not really having community, not really having kind of control over where you put your energy. So it pays really well. This is my second municipality that I've worked for, and it's just been pretty dramatic in both instances. It's a very interesting dynamic working in like such a powerful union. Things just like aren't necessarily merit based. So like the harder you work, it doesn't really change anything. So it just doesn't really instill a lot of hardworking people. If that makes sense. But it's very comfortable. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing and being transparent. So Jeanette, we'll go back to you. I did want to get some words of encouragement for anyone that is going into, your path. Can you share any words to really encourage those folks?
Okay. Well, I find it fairly entertaining. Please forgive me in my head, Bob, here. I'm literally using a speaker that I'm plugging into the laptop because the laptop isn't connecting. So anyway, being okay, literally being okay with those things. So I have been trying to be an advocate for a really long period of time. And I feel really excited that I've earned the respect of my peers, people who are in the industry, people who run the bucket trucks, people who work the big trees, people who are protecting the smaller places, and being able to just be available to have those conversations and for us to recognize that we don't have the answers, but that maybe we can come together with an understanding of what resources we have. So I guess my greatest and reason I chose this topic and kind of got really, really excited about this is that because of how I've chosen to live, I've been able to really enjoy I think it's called serendipitous type moments,
Mm.
where I have a simple conversation or I ask an out loud question or I'm at a specific event, that when I'm really focused and I have like a desire to maybe find something specifically, I tend to be looking for those solutions. So I really would love to be able to not inspire, because encourage people to really reach for whatever it is that they internally want to try to accomplish with their careers. I tend to have these fantastic conversations with people who want to work with plants, and we all do it for different reasons, but we all have the same kind of base understanding. And we sometimes feel very alone, and that we have so much we have to try to get through to accomplish our goals. And there's limited resources and limited understanding and limited research. And so there's things like Susan Simard's book, a lot of people who are pushing through and collecting the data needed to what has been told to me is an interesting perspective that I have, which is that the science is catching up to what we intuitively already know. So we already, as kind of plant people, understand those communities. We understand those connections. We understand what that looks like even for our own selves. So for us to help the scientific kind of different thinkers reach that same conclusion and therefore be able to recognize the value in whatever language they need to accomplish united goals.
That's powerful. That's a key takeaway. So definitely thank you, Jeanette, for sharing. And again, if you have a question for any of our presenters, we had some really, really amazing advice that was given. Please, you can still drop that in the chat. I think I have one more question. Oh, no, this is Frederick. He says, I honestly say it's highly variable, depending on a number of factors, whether it's in the private versus public sector or the field of employment in question, environment, forestry, conservation. It's one of the aspects where the monetary aspect can come into play depending on the job. I would say that more and more, the awareness of people about the environment is pushing to more new green jobs and more good ones. So in general, I think the future is going to be very positive for careers in this field. And I think that's a great summary. So again, thank you, Jeanette. That was very, very awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I want to just leave this space for any questions that anyone might have. I think, again, I took a ton of tips from this webinar, and I think these are extremely important to help advance in your career, not just from giving you some inside information, but really some tips and tricks to really advance your career progress. I think it's very invaluable. Also, if you didn't know, we have our applications open. We have our applications open for our 2024 SFI Annual Conference. This year, we will be in Atlanta. I'm extremely excited about that. That will be June 4th through the 6th at the Lowe's Atlanta Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you have not registered, please register immediately as soon as possible. This scholarship will be for those that are between 18 and 30 years old. You must be a Canadian or American citizen, permanent resident, or have refugee status in Canada or United States. Have a valid passport, all necessary documentation to travel. We unfortunately will not be able to provide visas. Be available to attend the entire conference from June 4th through 6th in Atlanta. Must attend pre-departure conference training. This is very important. And lastly, write a summary blog about your experience, share some photos, or provide a video testimonial. So we received a ton of applications. We want to make sure that you get yours in because the deadline is coming up. Again, this is a very, very awesome experience where you'll have mentorship, there'll be classes, there'll be networking, there will be some great leaders in this space at the conference. I just want to thank everybody for attending again. This was a very, very powerful webinar. And I believe my team member Jennifer just dropped the scholarship link in our chat. So again, if you have not registered, please do so today. My team and I were going through applications. We want everybody that can go there. And so again, please be sure that you do register. I want to thank just the SFI for this amazing opportunity. My supervisor, Jerry Taylor, she is just amazing. She's been so supportive. And again, this is my second webinar. I'm looking forward to more, but thank you for attending today. I will also want to thank my team members, Mira, Marjorie, and Jennifer. They've been such a great help with a lot of the setting up and making sure that our presentations are ready to go. So again, please join us June 4th through the 6th in Atlanta. I want to also thank our presenters. We have to thank them. Big, huge round of applause to them. It is not an easy feat to get up and speak in front of everyone. So I definitely thank them for their time. Thank you, Lindsay, Frederick, Jeanette. You all were so amazing. Thank you for sharing that value. Without further ado, like I said, I definitely hope that you'll tune in next month for our last send-off, and I'm extremely excited about that. But again, take care and God bless.
If you would like a work experience in the forest and conservation sector, or would like to learn about our mentorship program and career resources, visit pltcanada.org.